Right, this is a picture of Luca Pacioli from about 500 years ago. A very famous guy for some people. Other people, perhaps you haven't heard of him. He wrote a very famous book a long time ago. And why it's famous is it's still actually in use in the business world. So amazingly, pretty much every company around the world effectively uses his book. And he laid out really almost completely the whole system of how to organize the records, bookkeeping, accounts of a company. So because his system was so successful and so good, we actually use that today. Now, he invented this idea that we have things called debits and credits. And the reason he invented that is that we use them to compare each other. And the way we compare is something called a trial balance. And as you can see, we're trialing or trying to find out whether the debits or the credits balance. That's really effectively what we're trying to do. And as you can imagine, if they don't balance, we have a problem. So I'll show you a trial balance, and then I'm going to show you how to correct a trial balance, how to identify problems, put right the problems, and really identify any problems that we have in a set of accounts and how to sort it out.
How often would you use that trial balance?
Well, that's a good question. Thanks, Alex. It really depends on how often we're going to prepare accounts. So the trial balance is like the stepping stone to the final accounts. So we have the accounts here, the individual accounts. We have this trial balance to see whether it's okay, whether the accounts are okay. And then we have the final accounts. So the trial balance is the check on everything. So it does depend how often you prepare accounts. Now, obviously, most companies do this once a year, so the trial balance will be done once a year. However, it's entirely possible that you may want to do this every month because larger companies tend to do accounts on a monthly basis because they need the information on a regular basis. So thanks a lot, Alex, for that question. So we'll have a look at a trial balance now to see what it looks like. Let's have a look here. Right, now this is a trial balance for a company called Zhao Corporation. It's quite a small company, isn't it? Because we don't have a lot of transactions here by the look of it. But Zhao Corporation, very good, because first of all, we can see very clearly that the accounts are working. So it does balance. It does balance. And what we have here, this is effectively just a list of the individual balances. So this balance here is the balance on the cash account, 26,500. And this one down here is the list on utilities. So the utilities cost was about $1,000 so far this year. So far this is good. What we'll do now is have a look at how we actually use this trial balance in day-to-day work and take it a little bit stage further. Now, what we do, or the way we do this, is that we actually list down or take the balances from each individual account, and then they're listed according to whether they're debits or whether they're credits. If they're debits, they go in the right column. If they're credits, they go in the left column. And then we get a total, and we can see whether they balance. So that's the procedure, really. Now, there is something here I just need to say briefly. This thing, compensating errors. Now, technically, if we had two errors that they were the same size, but they were opposites, the trial balance wouldn't identify that problem. So the trial balance would fail. Now, I have to say, in about 30 years of work, I've never seen a compensating error. So they are very, very unlikely to occur, very unlikely to occur. But they are possible, they are possible. So the trial balance is not completely foolproof. but it is a very good system. So let's take it a stage further and see what sort of errors we may have and how we can correct those errors. Now, these are typically the 4 errors that we're looking for here. First of all, we forgot one of the accounts. We just basically missed it off. And then secondly, maybe there was an addition error. The account was added up wrongly. Maybe the numbers were confused. It's very common for people to get the 4s and 2s mixed up. When I've noticed these errors, when I've been working, it's very common for something like 420 to be written down as 240. I have no idea why that is. It's just human beings tend to get confused between their 4s and their 2s. So have a look for a problem like that. And then finally, we may just have written in a debit and forgotten the corresponding credit. So if that's the case, it won't balance. So that's another problem we could have. So those are the 4 problems that we're really looking for if we don't have a trial balance that balances. What do we do then? So we have this problem, we know there's an error. What do we actually do? Number 1, have a look for a missing account. Number 2, have a look for whether an account looks wrong, whether it's too high or too low. It's very common to get a 0 wrong in a set of accounts. When you're typing transactions into your computer, you can maybe type a 0 by mistake. So maybe in the fuel account, the balance is showing maybe 100,000 or something. And we're thinking, why did it have this sort of error? Well, perhaps there was a transaction that was 10,000 and someone by mistake just pressed the 0 again. So they entered 100,000 by mistake. Very easy error to make, very easy error to make. And then your account would look, way too high at the end of the day. Now, okay, we have these possible problems. If we can't resolve the problems, we transfer them to a suspense account. That is an error account. The reason we do that is that we need to progress and try to create the first set of accounts. But we can't forget the suspense account. We come back to it later on and then correct the errors in the suspense account. And how do we correct this error? Well, this is the way we do it. We do something called a journal, and that is a list of errors that we've made, that we've corrected. So let's have a look at a typical journal. So this is a journal for a company, and we just have a number of entries here. As you can see, this is 42. So this company had 41 errors before here. So I'm just showing you a little page out of the journal. It seems to be there was a problem with the electricity account and the insurance account, and we put that problem wrong. There's a problem with the sales account. Seems to be that we forgot to enter one of the sales. And seems to be some type of numerical error with the telephone account. So that's also wrong. Transposition error means numbers that are put in the wrong order. So as I said, a very common error is 240 will be written down as 420. People make that error hundreds of times for some reason. So you may want to look for that error. Okay. What we've got now is an example of a trial balance that doesn't balance. So what we have here, we've done the trial balance and we've got a total of the debits, 320,000. We have a total of the credits, 420,000. And we can see very easily they are not the same. So we have a big problem here that we need to resolve. And what we're looking on, what is the most likely problem that we have here that's created this error. So I'm going to get Alex to have a look at this, if she can, to try and identify what problem we have. So I'll pass it over to Alex and see if she can have a go at this.
Right, so there's 100,000 difference between the debits and the credit. There's 100,000 missing from the debits. So A is most likely not the one because 42,000 doesn't really explain 100,000. This one potentially is the good one because it says 100,000 and it's a debit. So potentially this one. Then C1 is a credit, so this can't be this one. And then payment 100,000. That's debit, but that would have voided because it's twice. So I think it might be this one.
Right, okay, so thank you ever so much, Alex. So that's very interesting. We have 4 possible candidates. So let's have a look, see if Alex got it right. Let's have a little look at this a minute. Now, okay, so what we have, I think Alex was right with this. So the first one here was 42,000. That's not really enough. That's not 100,000, so it's not that one. This one here is 100,000, so may well be the correct one. And it's a debit that we're missing, so it probably is the correct one, looking at it. This one here, we actually have an additional credit of 100,000. Now, if you look here, another extra 100,000 credit would make this even more wrong. We would then have a difference of 200,000. So it's not this one. And these two, now they are debits and they are 100,000. So this one is difficult. But think about this a minute. These two effectively would cancel each other out. So it's not those two, because these two here, if we corrected them, they would actually cancel. So it's not these two either. So I think Alex is absolutely right. She's got it completely correct. So well done, Alex. So I think you probably deserve one of these. So thank you very much, Alex. Well done.